Welcome back, everyone. Today, I thought we would do something a little bit different and hopefully fun by exploring one of my old worlds where I did a lot of projects prior to starting my channel and be able to see how my process changed over time and how my build style evolved as well. So, with that, let's go ahead and get started with the tour. We're starting off at the spawn point of the world, and the first thing that you'll notice is that these are not the default vanilla textures for Minecraft. And when I first started playing, I was using a Greek mythology texture pack, primarily because I really liked the textures for the ones like granite, which is what we have down here, and andesite and diorite as well. But I mean, you can see here with the cobblestone, and then these are the cut stone textures, which I just really liked at that time. Continuing on from the spawn point, we're going to head over here and take a look at the first building that I built in this world, which I marked with this sign, World's First Building. And as you can see, I mean, this is not a model of design work. This is just some simple cobblestone. And if we go inside, walking down these stairs, originally what I had was not this big open space. I just had a couple of rooms on each side, one over here and one over here. And then eventually, as I started building in this space, I dug out this area to make a mine that went all the way down to that level. And yeah, got a lot of different things down there. Over here is where I ended up putting the rooms. So these are some of the original armor sets that I had as well. Now, this building over here, I remember being very excited about because this was the first time that I was building something big. And looking at it now, it's not that big of a project. But at the time, this was the biggest thing I'd ever worked on. We go inside. I want to show you what I had. I mean, the interior is very simple. There is nothing really into here other than just some rooms. And if we go upstairs, the room that I was really excited about was all the way up at the top. And I remember being, well, looking at it now, it's not very much. It was just this little stream in the middle and some flowers on each of the corners. Coming up to the platform, we'll be able to take a look at the dome that I built, which at the time when I built it, it took a lot of my resources to get the glass and the black concrete. And I was really going for a shape that was more rounded than this oval shape that it turned out to be. But it was my first attempt at building something that was round. And I think that it turned out not too bad considering where I was at the time and the other projects that I'd been working on. But overall, a very simple design that I did. Now, this building I remember being really happy with when I built it, and it was the first time that I was really going with the Greek aesthetic for the build to match the texture pack that I had installed at the time. And you can see with these pillars right over here that I was really leaning into that. In this atrium, we have the sandstone, and then coming inside here, we'll be able to take a look at this center room, which has this dark oak, and this is andesite right here. But this combination of dark oak and andesite really works well in this texture pack. And as you can see, I put it everywhere in this room. And looking up, we can see the dome up there as well. But this was a very simple, again, simple design. And we can fly up here and take a look at one of the rooms that I really liked how it turned out too, because we come in here, you can see I have this fountain underneath the dome, and this is a much better dome that I built in that. We've been able to take a look at some of my favorite projects over here, and it's been a lot of fun to revisit this area as I have a lot of memories from the different things that I worked on and the different adventures that I went on when I first started playing Minecraft and learned how the game worked. But once I was able to get an understanding of the game, I realized that the Greek texture pack that I was using was sort of holding back what types of designs I would be able to build, and I decided to switch over to the vanilla textures to take full advantage of everything that they had to offer. So the next few builds that we're going to take a look at are going to be using the vanilla textures and my initial attempts at different ideas and projects. This next build that we're going to take a look at was my first attempt at using some texturing in the build that I completed. And as you can see, the texturing here is some pretty high contrast with the black concrete and the black from the coal blocks being mixed in with the gray stone and cobblestone and gravel over here. And you can see that I was trying to attempt some mixture of cobblestone and dirt and gravel on the sides. And really, what I was trying to tell with this project was that there was some sort of disaster. And that's why you have the black spreading out from where this entrance is. And if we open up the door, that way we can see the inside here. And then it switches from the black concrete over to obsidian. And to close the door, we have to use the lever on the outside. Otherwise, we won't be able to open the door again. And I think that there must be a zombie down here somewhere. But this room was one, and I still like this room with the lava. And then we've got some of this texturing with the black coming down to where the nether bricks are, and it goes up into the ceiling, which makes it difficult to see how tall the room is. But let's go ahead and take a look at the nether hub, which is the next area that I want to go to. I designed this nether hub as a transition point between the starting area where I first started playing, and we've already seen, and the new area where I was going to be experimenting using the vanilla texture packs. If we head down here, we'll be able to reach a little bit of a pathway where I used ice to get to the new location because it's quite far away from the starting area. So I'm gonna grab the boats. And there's two paths. This one over here, the orange, leads to the newest area, and the purple here is the middle area. So we're going to go down. We're going to save that for later, but the purple area is where we're going to head to next. So we're going to get started, and it's quite a ways. So I'm going to cut out and bring you back once we reach the end. This is the end point, and you can see the path there. And if we head over to this, excuse me, if we drop down here, I have some slime blocks, and oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to, well, all right. The slime blocks are supposed to prevent any damage, but I did it wrong. This portal here is sort of a decoy portal because I had planned it out and it came out into the wrong area. So if we go to the side here, you can see this little pathway, which will lead to the correct portal. And it's right around the corner here. And this will take us to the new area. I decided not to start out by the portal because it's in a central location and it would reveal the area too soon. So we started out over here so that we can do a walkthrough together and see everything for the first time. And you might see something in the distance. We're going to get there. But for right now, we're going to do sort of this initial little village area that I built, which has a mine over here. And you can notice that with this terrain, there's some snow lying about. This area used to have a lot more snow, like this entire hillside was covered with snow. And in one of the updates, I think it was 1.18, it must have changed the setting for what this biome is because all of the snow started melting. And there's not been any snow here ever since that update, which is a little bit sad because I really kind of built this with the idea that there was going to be snow everywhere. So the first building that we're going to take a look at is this one here. And this was my first time building a super smelter. And yeah, it's pretty basic. We're going to head down here into this village area. And you can see already that with the design of these buildings, it's come a long ways from the cobblestone buildings that I was working on initially in this area. And so this was my little starter base for this area. We've got some furnaces over here. If we head upstairs, I used to have a bunch of chests in this room, and this was my storage area. But when I built the storage room, I moved all of the chests out, and I've got this little brewing setup right over here. This was my bed, and I think I might still have some stuff over here. Let's see, some tools in here. Yeah, even got some diamond tools. Yeah, but this was my starting house for this area. And if we head out, the next thing that I want to show you is the actual storage room because I was pretty happy with it. Yeah, this build, not too bad for my first attempt. Probably some things I'd do differently now, but overall, not too bad. We've got these barns. Ooh, yeah, so let's go over here and I'll show you the storage room, which is up here. And I decided to make a little bit of a hidden door to come in where the storage room is. If we head down here, I used smithing tables for the floor. And when I built this, they didn't have a function, so you wouldn't click on it and see that UI. Um, but once 1.16 came out, it had a function. Here is a bunch of wool. I used to have item frames for all of the chests, but in an attempt to reduce lag, I went through and removed them all because I wasn't using this storage room anymore. So I only kept it for the wool. And if we head back here, we'll be able to see the mechanism that I was using because this one was an auto sorting storage system. And I took out all of the hoppers that used to be back here. Again, I was trying to reduce lag. This area used to be really bad. So I went through and took out all of the item frames and all of the hoppers. The next thing that I want to show you is, yeah, we're going to show you this hidden room, which is over here. So if you turn that lever, you'll see a doorway up here. And what I did was I used this hidden area to store all of my precious items. So we've got like redstone over here. This is the redstone room, emerald room. As you can see, I used a lot of the ores that I was mining with Silk Touch. And we've got in each room a lot of different ores in here. I mean, this is the diamond room. And I think I might have, yes, I did take out all the diamonds from the chest, but still a lot of diamonds in this room. And then we've got lapis over here. So yeah, this was my secret storage area for all of my valuable items. So that way no one would steal them. Although this being a single player world and only I was the only one playing in it, there wasn't really a big risk for that. The next project we're going to take a look at is this cave over here, which I created prior to the Caves and Cliffs update. So it doesn't have any of the new cave things. And this was prior to Lush Caves being put in. And what I did was I enclosed this space and we've got this lake down here, which has coral and different underwater plants. And then we've got a bunch of vines and overgrowth here. And so this was really my attempt at making a cave. We've got some zombies over here. What are these guys? That's odd. It's like they're trying to get somewhere, but I don't know where they're trying to go. Like this next area is one that I am really excited to show you because it's probably the biggest project that I've done to date and most complete. It took me about a year to do this, and I did the interiors, the exteriors, the landscaping. It's got everything. And yeah, I'm really proud of this build because it was a long time coming, a lot of work and a lot of effort and planning and designing, and it just turned out really well. I think that overall, the composition of it was something that works even now. I'm pretty happy with. So we're going to head down and we're going to be able to get a sense of the scale of this build. And this is a little forest area that I put together, having different flowers and plants all over. And coming up to the walls, you can just see this is a pretty good sized build. Lots of blocks went into this. And what we're going to do is I'm not going to show you every room on the interior, but we're going to go through and I'll show you some of my favorite rooms and the ones that I am most excited about. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead and head inside and I'll show you some of these rooms. This hallway leads to the room that I built in order to house the dragon egg. And if we come around the corner, we're going to see it. Yes. So this is the room. And this was the first time that I built something using crying obsidian. And the idea was there's sort of this infection that's spreading and growing up the walls into the ceiling. And we've got the egg here in the center. And then there's just a lot of purple glass down on the floor. And you can kind of see it going down and then, of course, up into the ceiling and spreading all over. And this room is one that I was really happy with how it turned out. And yeah, it looks pretty good. Yeah, you can see sort of the lights down below. And then we've got sort of these different doorways. There's not really doors other than this one that leads back out to the hallway. This next room has a secret in it, and it's so you come in, you can see up into the ceiling. You might not really notice that there's anything in here out of the ordinary. Got some windows, got fireplace. It's a pretty simple room, but if you look up here, you might be able to see some green. And if we use a rocket and launch ourselves up there, let's see, take off, and we come up into these vines, and we've got this little enchantment set up. We've got some ores up in the ceiling, and It's just a little overgrown tower, and you can do some enchanting. And you would probably be able to use it to get a level 30 if you remove the carpet. But yeah, it's primarily decorative at this point, and one that I didn't really use a lot for actual enchanting. But yeah, the only way to really get up is if you have a light trap. In this room, you can see that I started using some of the blocks from 1.17 when we got deep slate and copper. And this was meant to be the throne room. And so we've got these pillars that go up into the ceiling. And you can tell that the deep slate and regular stone walls have this really nice blending feature. And one that I would use more, but got this little bump in the floor from the light in the room down below. And these pillars were ones that I really liked how they came together, and I ended up just building the room around them to make them fit. This was the first time that I used deep slate and nether brick together, and I really liked the combination. And it's a combination that I have continued to use in builds and sprinkled in throughout, even in the most recent builds that I've completed. This next room is all the way down in the basement, and it's at the lowest level of this build. And it's a room that I use to store a bunch of ore. And I've used a bunch of different types of the 1.17 bricks. So we've got copper up in the ceiling. You can see we've got some of the deep slate in the pillars. And then we've got a bunch of ores in the center here. So we've got diamond ores, emeralds over here. That stack's looking a little small. It was harder to get emerald ore at one point. We've got some copper over here, and then some of the other ones, gold, coal over there too. So yeah, this is a good room. I liked coming down here because it's so relaxed. One area that I added to the build is a little bit more complicated than what it probably needed to be because of how it's being used. But if we come down here, you can see I've got these different gold armors, and with the armor stands, they are able to be posed in bedrock. And so we've got the different poses. So we've got diamond armor and these tridents and swords alternating back and forth. So I really liked how this came together, be able to put them in different poses. And in here is where we've got this build. And you can see I've used a lot of gold blocks, sandstone, some dark oak. And this is a build that I was really happy with how it turned out. And the primary function of these rooms is to hold these beacons. And I really like this room. This room is still probably one of my favorite things that I've ever designed. And it's just for this beacon to sit here. You can see it's set and ready to go for both haste 2 and jump. And it's set up so that you can turn it on and off by moving stone blocks in front over it so that it'll keep it from running and block its access to the sky if I want to turn it off. But all of these hallways, they're all the same. And I have beacons in all 4 corners, and that way it provide enough coverage to supply the entire area of the base. And I built these hallways just to connect them up. So it was a little bit excessive because I never come down here other than to just check it out every once in a while. But it was a lot of fun to work on. I really liked how it turned out. We could spend hours going around this build and looking at each of the individual rooms, and it would be really interesting for a little bit, but I think it would get boring and kind of repetitive too. So we're going to jump around and explore some other things that I've built in this world and not spend all our time here, even though this is one that I really like and could spend more time with. Definitely would want to in the future, probably. But let's get started with the next part. Here is my first attempt at redesigning the in-portal room of a stronghold, and I'm using some amethyst blocks in the floor, and you can see some of the other 1.18 blocks in this room. And it's really a departure from my normal style. This looks a little bit more, to me, it looks a little bit more sci-fi as opposed to kind of the fantasy castle medieval builds that I typically do. But it was a lot of fun to try something different and have these sharp angles in the room. And you can just see from depending on the angle with the lights and the white lines from the quartz blocks, it really was quite different. But yeah, I really like this room. And it's one that I wish I could see more often because I built it after I was done going to the end. And so I never really came back here after I finished building it. And really, from whatever angle you look at, the angles can kind of mess with your mind a little bit. Um, but yeah, this is one I really like. I'm glad to be able to revisit and see it again. It's a lot of fun. With the release of 1.18, I picked up everything I had and moved to a completely brand new area so I could get some of the new terrain. And this is my nether portal room that I built. And I've got these respawn anchors here. And in the overworld, it's actually quite dangerous to have them because they're like beds in the nether. If you click on them, they will explode. So I have them here. Ooh, what's this zombie doing in here? Excuse me. Um, yeah, I have them in here as a light source. And if we come through here, we're going to come out into this new area. And right away, you can see I was taking the builds to new heights. And this is a much larger wall than what we had in the mega build. But I was wanting to build on a much larger scale and be able to use some gradients. So that's why it ended up being as tall as it is. And this village over here was built sort of as a backdrop, and it's more of just to be able to look at from a distance, although it's got some interesting details and we might explore it later. If we head across the bridge, we'll head into the city, and right away you'll notice in this entrance is a massive tree. And I was exploring using different types of leaves to add texture and different colors to the tree canopy. And I think it turned out pretty well. And let's see, from in here, where do we want to go first? I'm going to show you, we got chicken. If we head over here, this is a little cactus farm. And let's see, there's the lever. You open up this door and see the cactus farm. Oh, didn't make it. All right. Well, you can see I got a lot of cacti. And if we jump across here, we can take a look. This whole tower is the cactus farm. And it goes all the way up. And we've got one in the other tower as well. The building blocks that I was using for this project has a lot of cyan. And in order to have cyan, of course, you need a lot of green dye and blue dye. And I was able to build these farms so I could get a lot of cacti for the green dye. Over on this side, we have, let's take a look at these builds, because this is a pretty nice little build design that I put together. We've got some bone blocks, and then some stripped dark oak and spruce wood, and then a lot of spruce trapdoors in as well. In this back corner over here, we have a build that's supposed to look sort of like a university or monastery, and it's a build that I put together in order to house the storage room. And you can see inside we have a bunch of chests in here with all sorts of storage space available. And I was using the trapdoors so that you'd be able to come up and then reach the higher level without going all the way up there to get there. But it would still be a platform you could walk across if you went up. One of the first builds that I had in this area was to build a super smelter. And in order to do that, I decided to work on getting some kelp blocks. And over here, we have the kelp farm that I built. And let's see if you can see. Yes, you should be able to see some dropping down right here. Let's go down and take a look at it. This was a project that uses a lot of copper all over, and most of it is aged, but I wanted to keep some in order to have sort of a contrast between the orange and the kind of greenish blue color of the aged copper, which you can see in here. And we've got the kelp blocks, and each of these sections has kelp growing. But yeah, you should see it drop through here. Just a moment. Yep, there you go. And we've got hoppers underneath these slabs as well. For this kelp farm, there are 4 sections, and each section has multiple areas in which the kelp can grow. And you've got the base layer, and then I think it goes up 2 more layers in total all the way up to the ceiling. So it's able to produce quite a bit of kelp overall. And then if we head down here, we'll be able to see the super smelter, and it's connected up so that the kelp is automatically being smelted so that we get the dried kelp. And as you can see, we've used kelp blocks to power these furnaces, and we've got dry kelp being produced continuously. Each of these chests is completely full of kelp blocks, so there's plenty of fuel to be going through it. And then you can see the dried kelp. And over here it goes to the super smelter. So this is all loaded up and ready to go. We could get plenty of smelting done with this. And if we go back here, we can see the super smelter. There are a lot of furnaces all in place, and it's timed pretty well. So that way we can, let's see. Yeah, so that when the cart comes down around here, you can see this is where it's loaded up and it goes around and then back over. And it's pretty much able to get about 2 blocks each time. And then it just smelts up items super quickly. You may have noticed that in the background there is some incomplete structures on this mountaintop. And that was one of the things that I was building on when I was last in this area. And it's very much incomplete. You can kind of see I've got this tower over on the side, and it lines up with this area where we go to get to the smelter. And I think if we actually fly over to the side here, we'll be able to get kind of an idea of what we were working with. So we've got this tower is kind of holding up the structure on this side, and then flying around to this end, you'll see that there's some more structures planned out. But this was supposed to be the front of the build, and there's going to be these towers kind of going up the hillside, and then we've got the water oceanfront area as well. So flying up here, you can see the idea was that this was going to be sort of a port town. So we're going to have an harbor area and then a castle overlooking the harbor up on the hill. And then this part of the town back here, which is complete, was supposed to be sort of the back area. And we might have had the wall coming out over here and then over to this side, coming into the ocean. And then there would be a wall going around over on this side if we can get over there. Show you. So going from these mountains on this side, where the wall is, so you can kind of see I've started planning it out here, and then the wall would go along this portion here and go across the river and then over there through the valley. That's going to do it for the tour of the world. One of the reasons why I wanted to be able to do this is I've been thinking about doing some Saturday streams where I work on different projects over here. And I wanted to give you an overview of the world so that you'd be able to see what it's like and whether you'd be interested in seeing that. So if you do want to see me do some streams here and work on these projects, leave a comment down below and let me know. And you might be able to see a stream coming up. It'd probably be on a Saturday, and we'd be working on the projects over in this city and getting it finished up. But that's going to do it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been great having you here. I look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, see you later.